Sustainment Operations. My name is Sean Vandiver, that's V-A-N-D-I-V-E-R. Sean is S-H-A-W-N. I served in the Navy from 2001 to 2013. I lead the Afghan EVAC Coalition, and I'm proud to be standing with so many leaders from San Diego and all across the country this afternoon to talk a little bit about our efforts, what's to come, and maybe break a little news. I'll be your MC today, and you're going to hear from a bipartisan group of leaders from here in San Diego and from federal, state, and local government leaders all across the nation. We stand here today shoulder to shoulder with those who have stood beside us for years. Our first speaker is my congressman, Rep. Scott Peters. Congressman Peters showed up at our operations center 3 days into August, right after we had started it up, or 3 days into August 18th, and has been with us, supporting us since day one. And I can't thank him enough for coming here today. So join me in welcoming Scott.
Thank you and welcome to San Diego to all of our visitors. We're very happy to have you. San Diego has one of the largest populations of post 9/11 veterans in the country, and many served in Afghanistan over the last 2 decades. These brave service members have our deepest gratitude for their dedication and for their determination to keep our country safe. And their service and sacrifice thwarted ISIS and Al-Qaeda. We were all united in our gratitude to them and their families as that war came to an end, particularly to Gold Star families whose loved ones never made it back. Today, on the 6th-month anniversary of the United States withdrawal of forces from Afghanistan, I want to speak about those service members who did make it home and are carrying injuries that we may not see, but they certainly feel, as they grieve for their Afghan partners who fought alongside them and are now in danger. These Afghan allies aided them as they sought to navigate an unfamiliar language, geography, and culture, and they did so with the promise that the United States would do everything it could to keep them safe. The world witnessed a historic evacuation effort in the final days of the drawdown last August. More than 90,000 Afghans were evacuated before the Taliban took over. Last year, Congress passed a spending bill that included $6.3 billion to help resettle these evacuees. And now Congress has to do more. We have to pass an Afghan Adjustment Act. Afghans who have made it to the U.S. face unique challenges. Among them is a lack of any clear pathway to permanent legal status. Many should have been eligible for the Special Immigrant Visa Program, or SIV. That status is generally what is granted to refugees. But that process is severely backlogged, and many of the Afghans who were evacuated at the last minute largely got here under humanitarian parole. We are grateful that the administration did this. They did it under extreme emergency circumstances to get these people out and away from the Taliban. But humanitarian parole is temporary. An Afghan Adjustment Act would allow certain Afghan evacuees to apply for permanent status after 1 year of being paroled into the country. It relieves the immediate burden on the SIV process, which currently has over 18,000 cases in the backlog, and the asylum process, which currently has over 1 million cases in the backlog. It prevents Afghans paroled in the U.S. from losing their jobs or being deported while their applications for permanent status are pending. And it will add an additional level of screening. Already, law enforcement and counterterrorism professionals conduct a robust, multi-layered vetting process for all Afghans before they arrive in the United States, and once again when they arrive in America. Under an Afghan Adjustment Act, a third additional screening would be required before permanent status is granted. If at any time an individual does not pass the screening, they're not allowed to come in or stay in the United States. There's a precedent for this. After the Vietnam War, after Operations Desert Storm and Iraqi Freedom, Congress passed adjustment acts to address these very same problems. San Diego plays an extraordinary and a critical role in our national defense and is playing a special role in the evacuation of Afghan refugees. We've so far welcomed here in San Diego more than 2,000 Afghan refugees. And we've had remarkable leadership from a lot of the people behind me, like Sean Vandiver, and many other dedicated members of the Afghan EVAC Coalition who worked around the clock despite overwhelming odds. They are veterans, frontline civilians, wartime allies, and Americans of all color, creed, and political persuasion. A bipartisan team of people who began their work in August of 21 and continue their work today. And it is a remarkable group of talented, dedicated patriots. I thank all those volunteers from all over the nation for their perseverance. And to the Afghanistan veterans here in San Diego and elsewhere, we know you are worried, we know you are hurting. We know you're fearful for your friends and your partners and your allies. We have not forgotten you or them. In your honor, I, along with Mike Levin, Juan Vargas, and Sarah Jacobs, my colleagues here in Congress in San Diego region, have declared March 1 Afghan Evac Day in the congressional districts we represent. I want to thank you for inviting me, and I want to thank you all for your service. God bless you all, and God bless America.
We'll turn those things around over there. One of those is that declaration, and I can't thank you enough, Congressman Peters, for that honor. I'll be the next speaker, and I'll try to keep it quick. In mid-August, my friend Lucky sent me a message that said, "Brother, the Taliban have us surrounded. We're running out of ammunition. Please grant me my last wish that you will help get my family to safety." I spent that day sobbing, and in between texts tried to raise funds to purchase commercial flights for Lucky's family, and I'd hoped for Lucky himself, including I'd asked Representative Peters, and he very generously pledged to help. The next day, Kabul fell, and with that, commercial flights stopped. Like others standing here before you, I worked with Americans just like me who had loved ones in Afghanistan. At some point, I realized that folks needed to be talking to one another. So we started collaboration calls in the morning and at night. And that's how I came to be standing here today on behalf of the Afghan Evac Coalition, which was born right here in San Diego, and I have the privilege of leading. Since August, our team, the people standing here before you today, has built a self-service tool called Train, Tools and Resources for Afghans in Need. So anyone seeking help can navigate the complex fabric of resources to those best suited to them. We built a secure universal case management system so that all organizations in the coalition can work together to help Afghan families and wartime allies. We created graphic explainers available on our website that break down the extraordinarily complex processes, systems, and concepts related to the relocation and resettlement of Afghans here in the U.S. And we've distributed more than $1 million in direct aid to newly arrived families trying to restart their lives through the Afghan Welcome Fund. We partnered with globally.org on that. I could spend a long time up here listing the wins that we've gotten through this, but the losses are a lot more than the wins. Our coalition is composed of more than 180 organizations working across the full enterprise of evacuation through the resettlement. The organizations in our coalition represent America. We come from all walks of life and from all over the country. We shatter traditional norms of political and ideological boundaries. We are veterans, frontline civilians, doctors, nurses, union tradesmen and women, teachers, baristas, lawyers, wartime allies, and more. And we are united. We're united in the belief that we have some more work to do before we can say our mission in Afghanistan is complete. I've seen, over the past 6 months, a disregard for the divisions that keep us apart that I would not believe could have happened. We want to continue to see that and the spirit of this effort reflected by our representatives in Washington. If you've ever said that you stand with the troops, then you must stand with us on this. Today, this bipartisan group of our representatives at all levels of government will announce support that shows us they stand with us. There is no issue that unites veterans across this country quite like this one, and we are so grateful that these folks all across the country are here to stand with us, ready to ensure that we are able to follow through on the commitments that we've made. And during the President's State of the Union address on Tuesday, you'll see dozens of members of Congress wearing this lapel pin that we're all wearing up here, to show that they too haven't forgotten their obligations. And as for Lucky, well, his name holds true. He took a jingle truck, drove for 2 days through 10 Taliban checkpoints, made it to his family, and they got to Dulles by the end of August. Now he's on the board of Afghan Evac. He started an Afghan halal market in Texas, and I have good news for you. He's our next speaker.
Hello, and thank you for having me out here today. My name is Lucky, and I'm here today to talk about my friends, my loved ones, and my fellow Afghans. They just newly arrived here. I served with the U.S. forces in Afghanistan almost 10 years. And I came here to the special immigrant visas in 2017 after trying for 4 years. Lucky. They call me lucky because I got blown up twice, and thanks God that I still have my fingers and my toes. I met Sean. He invited me to stand up and speak up about the Muslim ban brought by the last administration. He helped me telling my story, and again in April 2001, when President Biden announced the withdrawal from Afghanistan, from my country, he helped me in there and telling my story. And when I went back in April to Afghanistan, why did I go there? Do I really wanted to go back there to Afghanistan? No. The reason I went there because my mom was in the hospital and she was hospitalized there, and I just went there to help her or try to get her medical visa from India. But then I ended up stuck there. So when my family arrived, here, I went through a lot of bad stuff, like struggling with my kids. They've seen all this violence, they've seen all this blood, we tried to put our hands, me and my wife, to make sure they don't see on those violence, but they see everything here. Sorry. I believe in public service, and I felt complete to speak here today about the great stress experienced by my fellow Afghans who have arrived here with humanitarian peril. Most of them are still struggling. They don't have their proper documentation. They don't have their work authorization. They don't have their social security. They don't have their I-90 forms. Once my family was able to escape from Kabul, I moved from San Diego to Texas just because of a high rank, and I lost my job because I was stuck in Afghanistan in that situation. I didn't went there to go spend more time, but everything got changed, everything fell down. Nobody was expecting that. I started an Afghan halal market in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm just having a hard time to explain, and it does hurt me. It does, when I talk about this stuff, it just gets me inside. It reminds me the things that I have seen, the things I watched back there with my Afghans. Like, I started this Afghan halal market when I came to Texas because I seen all those people who were struggling. They were having a hard time to find food or halal food, and they gone through all those bad stuff. It's still like when I started those business, the whole Afghan community, they stood up. They helped me with financially, they helped supported me physically. And some of the new Afghan arrivals, when they came here, they come up with, that's the funniest thing, they come up with Sean's picture in their phone. And they tell me like, hey, you know this guy? He helped us out there. I just look at their photo, that's him, that's Sean. And I just feel like proud. I just feel like, all these folks behind me, they're all together in this part. They feel our emotions. They feel that what we are going through. And I see those people, they arrive, they come to my store, they're telling me their stories. Their troubles, their stress are not finished. They're not in they're not there because everyone, they woke up in the morning, they're scared, they're fear. Not only think that even same thing including me, when I woke up in the morning, I see my phone just to see that nobody have called me or my family that, oh, my brother is dead, or my mom is dead, or my uncle, or he's been shot, or he's been, just with all those stress being that there in Afghanistan, we are having same difficulties here. Because they're getting out from their houses. I mean, most of the Afghans, they are in hotels, or some places they're not permanently there. They have been getting pulled out from their houses, and then they stay 1 week there and then another week somewhere else. And they're staying with stress. Why we are going through all this stuff? We are trying to get adjusted in one place, and their problem is that they are not relaxed because they are in humanitarian peril, and nobody tells them what's going to be the next. And they are getting moved like from one place to another like a ping pong. They are not just like in one place. They're just thinking about what are we going to be happen next. Are we going to send him back to Afghanistan or somewhere else? Because the humanitarian peril is going to be in. What's the solution? They ask different questions. They ask with those situations. I don't have answer, and I don't think any of my friends here, until they have to pass the Afghan Adjustment Act. If they don't, and there's gonna be problem for all the Afghans. All these people, they came here, right? They're already in disgrace. They think about their families, and they're having those difficulties. So I would request our congressmen, our government officials, let's forget about the Democrats or Republicans. Let's think about humanity. We are humans. We are Afghans. We are humans. We have already struggled a lot. We have already went through a lot of bad things, and we don't want to go continue. We are human, and we have same hurt, and we have same feelings. So let's think about like your kids or some government officials. Like you have kids, and you're going through all this stuff. How are you gonna survive? How are you gonna like? But I don't want to take too much long time. I just want to request Congress and government official to please pass this Afghan Adjustment Act, and they deserve it, and this is the right thing for them, and this is something that we can honor. Thank you so much.
Powerful message from one of our recently returned Afghans. Thank you so much, Lucky. Next, you're going to hear from Assemblymember Chris Ward, who himself is from a military family.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you, everybody, for the leadership and the industry experts who are volunteering their time to make sure that we're challenged in government, that we're not missing a beat to do the right thing, and that we're cutting through the red tape to make sure that lives are saved, that work is getting done, and that people are being led to safety. But of course, the work doesn't stop, despite all of the quick action and outcomes that we saw last August and September and thereafter. We have a lot to make sure that people have a life to look forward to. And so as a state representative for this area here in the state of California, that really sits very strongly with me and my colleagues. We know that there are individuals in Afghanistan who have been supporting us for years, and it's our time to support them. California has long been a beacon for international refugees seeking safety and a better life. The legislature and Governor Newsom took steps last fall to secure assistance for newly arriving Afghans in our state. We partner with grant makers and philanthropic support to expand the California Dignities for Family Fund and maximize state and federal programs to put in action the support needed by expanding the California Newcomer Education and Wellbeing Program. California will take comprehensive action to welcome our new Afghan neighbors, including through a statewide coordination effort, as well as access to health care, public benefits, and additional resources. Whether as special immigration visa holders or as humanitarian parolees, we are seeking to maximize CalWORKs, Medi-Cal, housing, and other programs to meet the need. Our coordination, our community engagement and benefits will leverage the efforts led importantly by Afghan community organizations already established. It is imperative that we respond to challenges together, with purpose, with empathy, and with deep partnership. And that's exactly what the Afghan EVAC Coalition stands for. And so with that, I as well am really pleased on behalf of colleagues that will be presenting a proclamation, I think immediately after this, that will be recognizing March 1st as Afghan Evac Coalition Day in the state of California. I want to thank everybody for the work they've done to date, and we are in partnership going forward on so much work ahead of us to make everything whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Assembly Member. Now I'm happy to introduce you to my City Councilman and the sole Republican on the San Diego City Council, Councilmember Cate.
Thank you, Sean, and good afternoon, everybody. Over the last 6 months, the people you see here today and countless others have been working tirelessly to help thousands of displaced Afghan families and individuals seek a path forward after leaving their home country. As a result of their nonstop efforts, the San Diego region is now home to 2,200 Afghan refugees. I'm proud to support the sincere efforts of these volunteers who have devoted themselves to helping thousands of Afghans who have lost their homes and way of life. Over the last 6 months, more than 88,000 Afghans have arrived in the United States. The Afghan Evac Coalition is responsible for evacuating nearly 3,000 Afghans since September of 2021 and helping more than 15,000 Afghans reach safety. The numbers alone are impressive, but what we cannot forget is that we're talking about people who are essentially starting over. The work of the Afghan Evac Coalition is not political in nature, nor should it be. That's why we've seen bipartisan support from the beginning, and I'm hopeful we continue to see that same kind of steadfast humanitarian support moving forward. I applaud the amazing work of the Afghan Evac Coalition has been doing and continues to do each and every day. And thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this today. Thank you.
All right, we're going to pause on the elected officials. Thank you so much, Councilmember, for speaking. We're going to pause and we're going to go on to some of the incredible volunteers that have been in this since the beginning, and well, we'll get to them in a minute. We're going to do a little bit of a hybrid. We have with us a man who has been both volunteering to help, but was stuck there himself. Our next speaker is Prince Waffa, who was helped by Task Force on Top.
Hello everyone, and thank you for having me here today. I'm an American citizen, and I had the privilege and honor to serve alongside with U.S. Armed Forces in Afghanistan. 2014, I arrived in San Diego with a special immigrant visa for Afghans who helped the U.S. military operation in Afghanistan. On the first few weeks of arrival, like all other immigrants, I was looking for a job in downtown San Diego and had my CV going everywhere. I remember spending my last dollar in one of the 7-Elevens in downtown San Diego, and today I own that 7-Eleven. I was honored to live and privileged and to live in San Diego through then and from 2014. So in 2019, I started my legal immigration process for my wife's case to join me and come to the United States. After 3 years, unfortunately, with the COVID and all the other issues that came up, the process was paused. Since August 2020, there was no update on the case, and while I was watching the situation in Afghanistan was getting worse, late July 2021, I decided to go and trying to help her out of Afghanistan. After arrival in Afghanistan, around August, unfortunately everything went out of control. I was witnessed the destroying of both nations' sacrifice for the last 20 years, which is this is the hardest part of the journey that we have had, and anyone who served this journey in this war can feel the pain that I can feel today. While stuck in Afghanistan, and I wasn't able to take my wife, and I go to airport international during the military evacuation because There was not a clear rule or law. There was no guarantee if I can go past the Taliban checkpoint with my blue passport in my hand and with my previous service in the armed force in Afghanistan. On October 22nd, finally I was able to get in one of the U.S. Department flights out of Afghanistan. I arrived in Doha, Qatar, alongside with my wife. In a few weeks, we were able to get the immigration process done for her in Doha, Qatar, and I was able to get the immigration visa there and flew commercially to United States of America. On December 1st was my first day after almost 5 months to be in the US. After arrival, I was thinking that it's not only my wife was my mission to bring home. Now I have to help so many more people in Afghanistan to help them to get resettled in the United States, and also on top of that, helping find a way to deliver food or anything for that. While in Afghanistan and also here, I was able to work with the coalition forces, the previous veterans that served the country alongside save the country. I was able to help with be a small part of their great mission to help Afghan people in Afghanistan, like delivering medicine for some Americans that were stuck there while I was in Kabul. So arrival here, after December 1st, I decided to help the resettlement people for Afghanistan and helping the under-resourced agencies with resettling people, finding job for them as much as possible, and help them then get resettled with their paperwork. And some of the problems they've had, they've been living in these camps for a few months now, 5-6 months, and they were not able to get an apartment or a house to live. Many of them has kids that they need to go to school, and that's the only way they can go to school is when they are getting a place to live. And then while they're applying for a house to stay, they required income verification 3 times of more than rent, which it makes it absolutely impossible for them to be able to rent a place. How someone can rent a place if they're in human parole, which they don't even have the Social Security or work permit yet. We're trying to help as much as we can, and this coalition ANSO was a great help the entire time I was in Afghanistan and here. And I'm proud to be a part of them. And I can't do much with the great job they do, but I'll try to be helpful as much as possible. Thank you all for having me here. Thank you.
Kirby, how's your shot? You're good, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prince. There you are. We really appreciate that. Let me find the spot here. All right. We are so glad that you made it back safely and that you and your wife are here. Next up, we've got a guy who wears a lot of hats. Alex Blitzes is both the spokesperson and chief operating officer, or chief operations officer, and / Get It Done guy for the Human First Coalition, and he is a Republican official from the state of Connecticut. Alex?
Thank you, all of you, for coming this afternoon. So it's a privilege to stand here. Behind me, you'll see an array of colleagues who over the last 20 years have either served in uniform as frontline civilians or as civilians unaffiliated with the government, just acting out of compassion for the unfortunate humanitarian situation that we find ourselves trying to assist with now. And I can at least speak for myself and several folks who are behind me who have become close friends in the efforts that we've undertaken over the last 6 months, saying I wouldn't be standing here, along with a few others, if it weren't for the courage and the wherewithal of Afghan civilians who chose to stand next to us on the field of battle or in other capacities in Afghanistan. And to that extent, I do owe my life, and so do several others, to folks that are here, folks like Prince and folks like Lucky, who could have sat on the sidelines and done nothing and allowed the United States, after We had transitioned our mission to counterinsurgency operations to take care of that by ourselves and live a peaceful life and wait for events to be over. But instead, they did what they thought was morally right, and they stood by us. And that speaks to this as a moral problem. It is not a partisan one. This is a nonpartisan problem that we are addressing, but it is one that does require a bipartisan solution. And we need to ensure that we as American people do not allow the situation to kind of get out of control. And we've seen that kind of come with fears, rooted in unjustifiable xenophobia and other comments that are made about our allies. These are people who stood by us, and we have made a sacred commitment to them as a nation to ensure that they have a pathway to come here after they stood by us during America's longest war since our founding. And it's incumbent upon us as Americans to hold true to our word, not only for them, but for us as a people, because who will trust us again if we don't take care of those who chose to stood by us in our darkest hours after we were attacked on 9/11. And so we would ask, as part of that bipartisan ask for members of Congress, to ensure that they put their full weight and support behind the Afghan Adjustment Act. As a state party official, as the Republican Party Director for Veterans Military Outreach in Connecticut, I'm joined by a number of other local, state, and federal elected officials and party members from both sides of the aisle. Again, as a reminder that this is not a partisan problem. This requires a bipartisan solution. We are committed to getting that done, and we are asking our members of Congress to stand with us, and all the folks who are here assembled who spent the last 6 months of their lives, in many cases, some of their savings to get that done. The last thing I want to leave you with is, while you see a lot of faces here and people who have grown up and lived in the United States who have helped over the last 6 months, absolutely nothing that has been done in Afghanistan to help those who were left behind and those who required assistance in the evacuation operation leading up to the August 31st final departure of U.S. forces could be done without Afghans. Afghan allies are the heroes in all of this. They are the people on the ground who are ensuring that their fellow countrymen and American citizens who were trapped ostensibly behind enemy lines after the collapse of the airport have a way to make it home and have a way to become Americans and enjoy freedom and safety that we all do. And they have contributed their part to ensure that the rest of us enjoy it. So we owe it to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Alex makes a great point. If anybody tells you that they're solely responsible for saving an Afghan and they're not an Afghan, they're full of shit.
Official quote.
Every single person that got out with the help of any American volunteer had the help of multiple organizations, a full fabric. Nobody did it on their own, and most of the credit goes to the resilient Afghans who are getting themselves to where they need to go. In keeping with the theme of dual-headed folks, we've got with us someone who works as an Afghan evac point of contact for congressional caseworkers and is an elected official herself. Chair of the Select Board in Pembroke, Massachusetts, Select Woman Jessica Bradley Rushing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Bradley Rushing. I'm a congressional caseworker serving as a Capitol Hill point of contact for the Afghan evac Coalition, a municipally elected official in my hometown of Pembroke, Massachusetts, and an Army veteran. I've been working with the Coalition since late September to organize the hundreds of congressional caseworkers who are managing thousands of Afghan cases in Hill offices. Together, we ensure that accurate and timely information is accessible so that we're able to assist Afghan allies who reached out to our offices for help. Like so many others who have and will speak here today, I really began this work in mid-August. As Kabul fell, friends and constituents in my home district in Massachusetts began reaching out, desperate to help the people they knew, worked with, and cared about who remained in Afghanistan. I spent the last 2 weeks of August working around the clock, using every tool available to help get people through the Kabul airport gates. When the military evacuation ended, I continued to work alongside other Hill staffers and coalition members to ensure that relocation and resettlement efforts would keep going. While the work that has been done since the U.S. military left Kabul at the end of August 2021 is significant, I am here today to ensure that people hear that that work is not done. We must continue relocating eligible Afghan allies. We must ensure that the Afghans who arrive here have the support systems they need to integrate and begin their new lives, and we must pass legislative measures and take executive action necessary to make both the relocation and effective resettlement possible. All of this relies on the collaboration, communication, and concerted effort at the federal, state, and local levels. Each of these parts of government has a critical role to play in this process. Success also depends on continuing to leverage the unique relationship that the Coalition has built between government and non-government organizations that have already proven to be effective and fruitful. And we must remember always why it is so fundamentally important that we do these things. We made a promise as a nation to those who helped us through 20 years of war, and we must keep that promise. Thank you all.
Thank you, Selectwoman. We only have 2 more speakers, folks. And then we're out of here, or you can ask us questions, whatever you want to do. Next up, we've got Francis Barraza, Regional Vice Chair for Imperial, Orange, and San Diego counties for the California Republican Party.
Thank you, Sean. And I do want to take the moment to thank Sean Van Diver and the rest of the Afghan EVAC Coalition. If I had one word to describe Sean, and boy do I have many, it is tenacious, and every member of the Afghan Coalition, EVAC Coalition that I've met shares that same trait. And that's what it takes to do the good work that they've been doing so far. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that. I also stand here as a very proud San Diegan, one, because the leadership for this effort has started here and continues to grow here. 2, because San Diego has been such a welcoming region. We have many Afghan evacuees here, and I'm very proud that we've provided so much to them to give them the start to their new lives with open arms. I'm very, very proud of being a San Diegan and being part of that effort. Again, as you know, everyone has stated, this is a bipartisan effort, but obviously it also transcends partisanship. What we're really talking about here is human life, and that goes well beyond politics. What we're talking about here is lives that are actually saved. But for the efforts of this coalition of our Afghan allies abroad, there would be people that are here today that would not be alive. And we're now giving, and they are giving them the new opportunity to start a new life. So I'm very proud of that effort, and thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Francis, for your steadfast support of Afghan allies. Our final speaker is Councilmember Rula Campio, who represents a wide swath of our Afghan community here in San Diego.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Sean and the team of Afghan EVAC for having me here today. My name is Rula Campio, and I'm honored to serve the San Diego City Council District 7, which has the largest community of Afghans in our San Diego region in Serra Mesa, where they have the Afghan Islamic Cultural Center, and where we have so many residents who have come from Afghanistan in the past 20 years. I've interacted with my Afghan constituents on many issues, and they do not ask for very much. In fact, one of the few things they do ask for is a fixed sidewalk, or to move the bus stop up a few feet, or to get the delivery man for their neighbor to stop hitting their fence and how to fix it. They don't ask for a lot. They take a lot of pride in being self-sufficient and handling their affairs with honor and integrity. So when the imam's son, who's a friend of mine, texted me last August and said, I have family who is in Afghanistan trying to flee. I have family that's already made it to Qatar. Can you help me? And I said, absolutely I can, because I had a friend in Sean Van Diver and all of his friends at the Afghan EVAC team who had already started to put in place the tools to help people get out. Sure enough, I sent along some of those resources, and I know many of those family members have made it to the United States, and that's nothing short of a miracle, given how much we've invested and how quickly Kabul fell. But it shouldn't take a miracle to pass an Afghan Adjustment Act. All it takes is 217, 218 votes in the House of Representatives and 51 votes in the Senate. It just takes willpower to recognize not creating a miracle, but as the Selectwoman said, merely keeping our promise. That's all we're asking our leaders to do. That's all my constituents are asking for. That's all I'm asking the Congress to do, is keep a promise for those who sacrifice so much alongside our veteran families, many of which are my constituents as well, in Tierra Santa, Murphy Canyon, and also who live side by side in Serra Mesa where there's military housing. I've seen both sides of this conflict right in my very own district, and they want to see the Afghans who sacrificed so much have a home here in the United States with an Afghan Adjustment Act. It's not a miracle, it's keeping a promise. And so to remind people of the promise we made as a country, on Tuesday, March 1st, the city of San Diego will be passing a proclamation that March 1st will be Afghan EVAC Day in the city of San Diego, both to thank the Afghan EVAC team, but as a reminder of that promise that we have for those who, regardless of what country they're from, stand alongside our military families and put their lives on the line for democracy and freedom. Thank you so much for having me here today, Sean.
Thank you, council member, and thank you to everybody who spoke here today. I want to say something really quick. A lot of folks said my name, said they knew me. The only reason, I'm just like a noisy guy that makes a lot of friends. Sometimes makes some enemies. The folks here behind me, these are the heroes. These folks have given up their nights, their weekends, their sleep, their sanity, given up their relationships, and have made miracles happen. I'm just the guy that connected some of them, and I'm in awe every day of the incredible work that the volunteers that work on our Afghan EVAC core team and that make up the 180 organizations of our Afghan EVAC coalition. So we're ready to take some questions. At the end, we're going to take those proclamations over there, we're going to hold them here, we're going to take a photo, and then we're going to be done. Does that sound good? Any questions?
Do that first.
Yeah.
Do that first? All right, we're going to do that first. Raul, you and Chris can pretend to be the county. Come on up.
They have more money, so.
Scott, can you come up for your proclamation? We're going to have these guys stand in front here. We'll take a photo. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Chris has got his from the state. Are we good? It sounds like we're good. So we can, yep. I said we're going to take questions. Before we do that, I'm going to go a little rogue here. I want to talk about who's here. Yeah, that's happening. Really quickly. So, you heard from a lot of us today, but you didn't hear who all these people are. We've got Joe Goulet, who handles our data and tech team. He helped build the management system. In the back there, you've got Matt Mikowski, who is our liaison to Welcome.us and handles local resettlement efforts. Right in front of Matt, you've got Pega Parsi, who's our privacy officer. You've got Jeff Wells, who's our OPSEC leader, also does privacy. You've got Trip Evans, who's our jack of all trades and helps with American service members. You've got Mark. You've got Jessica Bradley Rushing, and where's Jenna? You ran away. Jenna's over there. Who are two congressional POCs. They are her points of contact for the Hill. We've got Joy Schanneberger, who's the CEO of Human First Coalition.
No, of Boone, but
Yeah, the CEO of Boone. She's in charge of the Human First Coalition. Her and Alex Blitzes run Human First Coalition together, which do end-to-end operations. We've got Mark Antall from Task Force Antall. You've heard from Prince and Lucky. There are two Afghan folks who were evacuated and stood beside us for years. You've got Vivian, Bridget, and Fiona Antall, who have made a lot of sacrifices. Thank you. And Danielle Cosgrove from the World Economic Forum, Global Shape. And I would be remiss if I did not mention March Bishop, who has been March Bishop is the brains of this operation. She's like the chief operating officer. She also is, the State Department thought she did such a good job, they wanted to hire her to be the liaison. So she went over and acted as a liaison from all of the 180 organizations to the State Department and so much more. Now we'll take questions. Let's get March in there.
So regarding the Afghan Adjustment Act, this is a bill that has not been introduced in Congress yet. Where are you in that process?